The moment of truth will be upon us here shortly. So we're going to jump in and take a look at what that means and what is going on. The market's finished kind of flat today, ahead off of the jobs report last week and ahead of the CPI report coming out on Wednesday. And that will be the moment of truth for markets. The question is, have we bottomed? Have the markets found a bottom, traditional markets and crypto? We know that with the jobs report, that's likely to lead the Fed to hike rates again aggressively at their next meeting in September. They are not likely to do an emergency rate hike in August unless for some reason inflation comes out super high. Then they might consider doing an emergency rate hike. But right now they have two CPI prints before their next meeting. They have the August print, which is July info, which arguably should be equal to or potentially more aggressive than June inflation because it should pick up some housing data that has increased that was not in the June numbers. And the inflation that we've seen ease up a little bit, or at least the high costs we've seen lately, gasoline. Some people are saying they're seeing food prices come down in some areas. That's not going to be reflected until next month, inflation reading in September. So we have two inflation prints coming out before the Fed meets again in September to do their thing. And all of the Fed talking heads are saying that the market got it wrong, that they have not pivoted. They're going to raise another 75 basis points. At least they're saying they see that that's appropriate and necessary at the next meeting. So we'll jump in and take a look at the charts here in a second. But everything was pretty much flat across the markets today. Bitcoin and crypto had a little bit of a pop today. So we'll take a look at that and what's going on with those. But the meme stock frenzy continues with Bed Bath & Beyond and AMC. Let's take a look at those. They look like altcoins. So let's go look at BBY. Bed Bath & Beyond jumped about 40%. This is on the hourly here. That was a nice little pop for Bed Bath & Beyond. Wall Street Bets was all over this one. GameStop as well. AMC popped about, I think that was about 30% today. Let's take a look at that. Well, this is the last few days. So yeah, let's see what it popped today. It was about 20% today, but since Friday, it's popped quite a bit. And then GameStop had a nice little pop today as well as Wall Street Bets continues to do its thing with the meme stock rally. Interesting times. Here's Bitcoin. Bitcoin had a nice little pop as well as the memes were going off. Bitcoin had a nice little rally this morning, pumping up to 24.2 before reversing. So the real question is, what's going to happen? Is Bitcoin going to continue to just consolidate along this trend here? It's still putting in higher lows and lower highs, except this new lower high on the hourly anyways is lower than the previous lower high. So it could come down, test the bottom and bounce around in here a little bit and kind of consolidate in this rising wedge, bear flag, whatever you want to call it. Bottom line is until you take out this last low of 17.9, you're just consolidating. And until and unless you take out the last high of 24.5, it's just consolidating in a range here. Nice action. Ethereum has continued its march, had a nice pop earlier today before reversing, and probably a little bit of a squeeze action here on this drop from 1770 down to 1720. But of course, the ETH merge news is what this is all about here lately. And, obviously there's differing opinions on the merge, whether it's going to be successful, whether it's going to work. And they obviously said that may be late, maybe delayed, may have some issues, but it's technology, right? And it's emerging technology. So there's always going to be issues and things like that whenever you're rolling out some sort of a change with an emerging technology. That's a big one with Ethereum, though. So we'll see what that looks like. But altcoins are outperforming Bitcoin here in this last little bit of run, which they generally do, obviously, a different asset class. But the biggest news, obviously, for Bitcoin was BlackRock partnering with Coinbase to offer Bitcoin trading to their institutional clients. Hopefully, we'll see that in the coming months, probably not until next year. And that could potentially bring billions to hundreds of billions of dollars to Bitcoin initially, and then maybe Ethereum and some other altcoins, but right now exclusively Bitcoin, which would obviously affect the price if you get capital all of a sudden flooding into Bitcoin. So that would be good for that. The other thing is just a vote of confidence for Bitcoin and for crypto in general, but mostly Bitcoin. When you have institutions that are clientele of BlackRock looking at this asset, that's a very good sign. So we will hopefully have an understanding of when that's going to happen. And that would really be the time to jump in. So when would I feel really good about going in a big way in Bitcoin would be as soon as BlackRock makes an announcement that they're able to start serving their clients' institutional needs in Bitcoin. So we don't know when that's going to be. We'll have to just kind of wait that one out. And here's Bitcoin on the daily right here, kind of still continuing this trend and consolidation range here, working its way up. So obviously we just have to wait and see what happens there. We'll take a look at the 50-day moving average here. Price is above the 50-day. And if you look on the weekly, price has now broken back above the 200-week moving average, which traditionally has been the main area of support for Bitcoin throughout the years. It's never really stayed below or broken below and stayed below that 200-week moving average for any length of time, wicked down back here in 2020 during the pandemic. So can it hold the 200-week moving average and just kind of start putting in a base here? We won't know, but a good sign will be inflation. So if we get a lower inflation print on Wednesday, then the markets will likely rally, and then you can start building a much better case for a macro bottom being put in right now, while we wait out the rest of the summer, really waiting for the Fed to make their move in September to see what that looks like. But we could be carving out a nice bottom here in all markets if we get a nice inflation print, less than what we had last month. But if it comes in a little bit hotter, markets will probably start working its way potentially towards what they, pricing in a next rate hike for the Fed, QT, and other effects of valuations on stocks. So we would probably see a little bit of a snapback, a little bit of downside if the inflation print comes out a little bit hotter. So those are the things that I'm looking at right now, and I will see you on the next video.